Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. This is the Karen Bashford show. It's sort of co-opted as being the Sloth or Beaver show, but it's still one and the same. But I'm going to start this in reverse order because, interestingly enough, some of you will know, and I hope more and more will know, that Karen has a wonderful podcast called the Empowered Women Life Leaders Podcast. And next week's topic is the topic we're going to discuss today. So I'm going to flip this back to Sloth or Beaver. Today's topic, or rather what we're going to be talking about in relation to Sloth or Beaver, is listen to yourself. And if you listen to the audio podcast, it's much more focused on knowing the answers within you. The wonderful thing about Sloth or Beaver, which is, I'm hoping more and more of you will know, and I'm just going to put the ticker on so that if you want to find out more about it, you can do that sooner rather than later. Hang on, get it right. There we go. Lovely. Okay. It kind of, I wouldn't say forces, but encourages you to ask questions of yourself and listen to yourself for the answers. Am I right, Karen?
Yeah, that was how it was designed, yes.
So now I'm going to ask a big one here. Are all answers already there?
Yes. Every answer you ever need is always inside, never external.
So what people don't realize is, oh gosh, it's fallen down, but Sloth or Beaver, which is based around a board and cards. Would you please show us a Sloth or Beaver setup? Sloth or Beaver, there we go, is all about exploration. Can we call it encouraged exploration?
Yeah, definitely encourage you to actually explore who you are.
So what Karen's actually holding up is something that represents, and in fact, I'm going to do this. Hang on, Karen. We're going to do this. There we go. So as you can see the board there, now that path, that represents what exactly?
That's your life journey. So basically what happens is you obviously start at birth, which is over here.
Right.
And then you go along this path. Now, whilst it's numbered, it does not really mean very much. I could have had it so that it wasn't numbered. Initially being a game, it had to be numbered. But having decided that a game wasn't practical for me, I've just left the numbers and just allowed the board to be as it is. But each step is part of your life journey. I allowed it to go to 100 because most of us might manage to live to 100, but you never know. And the aim of the board is to just clarify for you aspects of your life journey. So Sloth is very much about how you start your life, that slow learning, that slow intake that you have about life and the beliefs you start creating based on the experiences you witness and things like that. And then you get to a point where you start to question, because maybe things aren't going as well as they could be, or you start realizing that you've got patterns that aren't serving you. When I say patterns of behavior, patterns of thoughts, even relationships can become a pattern.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Oh my goodness,
you start to question, is this serving me? And it's like there's an awakening within you that says there's more to life. Why am I not questioning what I want, how I want it to be, and things like that? So the aim of the board is to just allow you to understand more visually what really goes on in life. It's like a pathway through life. We can go often sort of different paths, but we generally come back onto the same path at some point of where we're going to finish our life. So that's all that is. It's just giving you a visual to understand life's journey. And then obviously once you start questioning yourself, Beaver steps in. You're always going to have Sloth simply because you've created all these beliefs, you've input all this energy into you, that it's going to stay until you actually choose to question who you really are.
But here's my thought about this. A lot of what your base is, a lot of your sloth comes from your parents, comes from your early
Parents,
influences.
yeah, parents, it can come through genetics, because we actually bring into our lives the genetics of our parents, so they can actually pass on history through our
Yeah,
genes.
yes.
We live in a world where there's so much cultural issues that can influence our parents previously, that then continue to influence us
But
because
then
of what our parents tell us, or our genetics again.
you almost have no choice about your starting point, do you? You're
No,
kind of
no,
you're
no.
kind of dumped there. This is who you are right now.
Yeah,
And then from then on, it's kind of a slow path of learning and
yeah.
assimilating information and meeting people and being stuck within situations, whether they be relationships or
Mm-hmm,
they could be work. I
mm-hmm,
remember, I know a lot of my attitudes were shaped around a bunch of years where I was working for a company where I was being bullied a lot by
mm-hmm.
my boss. The
Yeah,
fact I was a director of the company didn't make any difference. He
mm,
was the MD, and he was, and that made me retreat into my shell.
yeah.
Made me, and those kind of external influences, they can really shake you up and change the way in which you relate to people. And
But there
this
would
came
have
out.
been,
Sorry,
there would
Karen.
have been an underlying issue within your childhood that allowed that bullying to take place. Because if you
Absolutely,
have an
absolutely.
underlying issue of belief about yourself, it doesn't matter who you go and work for. If that person is inclined to bully, you will be the target, because they feel that they can bully you because you're not strong enough, not confident enough to stand up to them.
The interesting thing was, externally, I was a competent person. Externally, I was, but they would chip away
Mm-hmm.
at my self-belief and my
Mm-hmm.
ability to deliver.
Yeah.
With little throwaway phrases. Well, good
Mm-hmm.
luck with that. You'll probably fail, but if you don't, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
there just to make
Yeah.
sure I can take the mickey out of you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how they do it.
But there was moments of self-realization years later, about 5 or 6 years later, after I'd gone from that job, started one of my own businesses, and I looked back and I realized that I'd grown the ability to question this kind of input. So I did. And this came out about 2 days ago when Heather and I was sat doing working on the Sloth or Beaver together. We do a couple of cards every other night usually, just to see where we're going. And this came out that I perceived myself one way, and now I almost increased my perspective so I could see myself in the round, almost
Mm-hmm.
given my permission not to have to be that person anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what Sloth or Beaver is about. Because when you start realizing that you're not happy with who you are or what's happening in your life, you will start to question why. And all Sloth and Beaver is about is actually giving you the tools, the questions, the insights as to why something might have happened and what you can do about it, to start opening yourself up and realizing that actually this, and this contributed to where I am now. So what still needs to be changed to really gain my confidence, or to not allow situations like that to occur again. And that's where Beaver comes in, because Beaver works, if you know of a beaver, it works away at creating, at clearing, and then creating. So all Beaver is doing is allowing you to sort of gnaw away at all those little issues that have been stopping you from being yourself.
So let me ask you the question about the Sloth or Beaver toolkit. Who would benefit? Let's first of all from playing it. Who would benefit from not playing it, from engaging in with the toolkit?
Engaging,
Sorry,
yeah. It's not
I've got to
a
get the
game.
wording right. It's not a game.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
not a game. It it's suitable for anyone who feels that life is not where they want to be, because it then enables them to start questioning, why am I in this place? What has caused this to happen, or what do I need to change? The thing about all the questions, if you actually shuffle the cards and then pick one, especially if you're doing this on your own, the question that comes out is always something that is very relevant to what's going on. It works like that. It's like the law of attraction.
Right.
You literally have this energy that says, I'm inquiring. And the thing about it is, the instant you start inquiring, the one thing that's causing you the most problems presently, not in the future, presently, will be the question you get from the set of cards. It always works like that.
Okay. I've got another question for you. We've talked about people who would gain benefit from engaging with Sloth and Beaver. Let's talk about people like my wife. My wife, Heather Wax, who's a hypnotherapist and a healer, wants to incorporate Sloth or Beaver into her practice. Now, who outside of Heather would find great benefit from perhaps using Sloth or Beaver toolkit within their therapeutic practice?
Anyone who is in contact with people who basically aren't happy with their lives.
Okay.
So it can be, it can even be a HR department. The HR manager might, or manageress might choose to incorporate Sloth or Beaver into a group discussion, because by actually opening the conversations up, it enables people to understand more about themselves, but to also realize that sometimes people are quiet because they're going through something, but that doesn't mean to say that they necessarily want to talk about it. However, with the Sloth or Beaver questions, you can answer as much as you want or as little as you want, but you're always gaining, especially if you're doing it within a group environment, you'll gain from each other's insights. Obviously, there's a confidentiality, so the importance is to understand that whoever is participating actually agrees to hold whatever is discussed or talked about within that group, and don't pass it elsewhere.
Okay.
But,
So
yeah.
it would help if I mean, okay, let's talk about how many people can work on with Sloth or Beaver at any one time.
Well, you can have one person. You can do it for yourself and nobody else if you want to do that.
More
However, up to
introspective
6.
questioning and
Yeah.
answering. Okay.
Yeah. Or you can have up to 6 people. I restricted it to 6 because there is a time limit, obviously. Each card has a number on it, and that is how long the first person who pulls that card is supposed to talk for. However, if you consider, if one's, say, a 5-minute conversation of sharing, then other people start contributing. It restricts how many questions can be asked, because unless you've got hours and hours, that's the aim of Sloth or Beaver. Is it's not necessarily something you do hour on hour on hour, but you can actually choose to say, have the 6 people and each person answers a question. That could take up to a couple of hours easy.
It's very interesting, actually. We've got a friend of ours who I won't mention her name because she does watch this show, so I don't want to offend anyone, but she will be joining us. She's had issues that have happened in her life from quite a long time ago that still play a strong role in it. and me, her, and Heather are going to sit down, and we are going to go through a few cards together. Now, I don't know if we've been doing this right, Karen, because until now we've been spending an hour or so, and then we fold up the thing, put the cards back in the bags, and then we leave it in the order we got to, and then we pick it up and do it again. Is that the right way of working with it, or is it
whatever suits you? The actual instructions specify that it's recommended you shuffle them. You don't have to. It's
well, we
just that I
shuffled them
said
at the beginning. We shuffled
that's
them at the
fine.
beginning. Yeah.
That's fine. But if you consider, as I say, every question will be appropriate for the person who picks the card up.
Well, yeah. Well, mine have certainly been on the money. I just got to warn people. It made Heather cry a couple of times because I came out with answers that I don't think she was expecting, and were, I wouldn't say new knowledge, but old knowledge presented in a different perspective, and it kind of knocked her a little bit. I'll tell you one thing that's happened through this. Heather has become more and more empowered to say it clearly without trying to make the nasty words nice, if you see what I mean. Been more direct. Now, as an autistic man, I prefer directness because that's how I live. Heather isn't always that direct. She's become more direct, and it's meant that we can actually get to the root of what it is more easily, because when you call a spade, then you know what it's for. It's if you, that thing over there that looks flat, it doesn't really tell you it's a spade. The fact that she's able to actually say what it is, I think is frankly doing miracles for our own intercommunication, because we're and I think she's relaxing more into it. This thing with when our friend, I almost said her name, when our friend is joining us, which will be, I'm hoping tomorrow evening, will be interesting, because I know it will bring up, well, it's not bringing up because we've talked about these things, but we've never talked about them in a directed manner. So this is going to be interesting. I would draw everybody's attention to the fact at the bottom of the card, and I know you've already mentioned this, there is a number. And I would say sticking to that helps you just cycling down the wormhole, because the idea is to talk about a bunch of different things, not just one thing, get stuck on it, and because that doesn't help you move forward. Yeah, it's been transformative so far. We've only had it, a couple of weeks. So we're working on it. Sloth or Beaver, the website is designed to be simple and obvious, right?
Absolutely. I don't believe in confusing, because to me, my life had been nothing but confusion, uncertainty, and everything else.
Right.
So why would I then want to introduce more uncertainty? So yeah, Sloth or Beaver has been designed literally to guide and support you to understand the benefits of having Sloth or Beaver toolkit, but also for you to start realizing that you have to work on yourself to create what you want in your life. It's not up to someone else. You have to do the work. Whether you choose to share it with other people, that's entirely up to you. But even just doing it for yourself will help you improve your life, because it makes you look at yourself in a totally different way to perhaps you've ever done.
Well, there you go. Oh, wonderful. We've got a comment in from a gentleman I know well, Spencer Collins, a gentleman who is I don't know what's the word, strong loss of hearing. Thank you, Spence, for your comment. As someone with severe disability, how do you navigate the pervasive bias that exists online today? Well, Spencer, this is all about Sloth or Beaver, which is a toolkit that helps you ask questions about that amongst other things. But if you wouldn't mind giving a response before we shut down for today.
My comment would be, you have to realize that despite other people's opinions, despite anything else, only you have control over how you respond to that bias. And if you choose to be hurt, angered, upset, or frustrated, or anything else, that is due to your choice. And it's a tough one to face, but that's the reality. We only have control over how we respond and how we feel and what we think.
Otherwise,
so if you want to ignore
it's like
it,
taking poison. It's like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Yes, it's quite right. So, Spencer, thank you very much for your comment. And Spencer, if your charity is interested in looking at Sloth or Beaver, please do go to the Sloth or Beaver website and get in touch with Karen. I'm sure she'd love to talk to you. But thank you so much for your comment. And to anybody else who has comments, please do go to slothourbeaver.com. In fact, I'm going to make it even easier for you. Here we go. Look, there's a QR code in the corner. If you follow that, that will take you to Sloth or Beaver as well. Please do take a look. I think it's a revolutionary toolkit that will help people get more understanding of each other, especially if you've got them in a group, although you can do it one-to-one as well. Karen, as ever, wonderful to talk to you again. I have to say, Karen has become a very, very good and understanding shoulder for me to lean on occasionally. She's more of a mirror for me to see. She reflects back what the reality is rather than my perception of it. So she's kind of like a perception filter for me. So she's an excellent person. And I should mention, she's not just about Sloth or Beaver, although that is a very important part of what she does. She also is a person that can help you with wellness from the point of view of self-perception, empowering yourself and so on, by helping you see the reality of the situation and also perhaps helping you craft out better ways of reacting to it. KarenBashford.com. Have a discussion with her about your wellness journey going forward. So Sloth or Beaver, there we go, in the corner there. And also, if you want to find more about KarenBashford.com, please go there. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you very much, Spencer, for your comment. And until next week, please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and try and look after that mental health. Bye-bye now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.